Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on day 2 of Growing Inland Achievements Toward a Shared Vision 2021 convening. My name is Alyssa, and I'm a recent graduate of Cal State San Bernardino.
And my name is Alicia, and I'm a recent graduate at Barstow Community College, and I'm currently attending Cal State LA.
We are both student interns at Growing Inland Achievement, and as students and recent graduates ourselves, we are honored to be a part of this opportunity to help bring student voices into the session today.
Absolutely. We are delighted to share what some of our students in the Inland Empire, as well as some recent graduates, have had to say about what education means for them and their families, some of the challenges they have faced this past year, as well as some of their hopes and fears for what lies ahead.
Let's meet the 10 students we had a conversation with.
My name is Adrian Macio. I recently just graduated from Cal State San Bernardino with my bachelor's in marketing. I will be attending UCR for my master's program in higher education administration and policy. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And that's me.
Hi, my name is Adriana Choba. I go to Barstow Community College, and my major right now is studio arts.
My name is Brandy Wallace. I'm actually at Barstow Community College, and my major as of right now is an AS in accounting, but it could change.
Myra Daniela Silva. I actually just graduated from Cal State San Bernardino with a biochemistry major. Currently, I am doing taking some classes at Chiefly College for emergency medical provider certificate. But yeah, as of that, that's kind of what I'm up to right now.
Hi, my name is Inez. Right now I'm attending VVC and they're majoring in criminal justice and psychology. I'm also attending Central State University for my bachelor's degree in criminal justice as well.
My name is Luis Manuel Cid. I attended Cal State University San Bernardino, and my major was in communications, concentration, and media studies.
My name is Michelle Rood Bello, and I just graduated with a respiratory therapy degree from VVC, Victor Valley College, up here in the high desert. I still attend there because I'm picking up one last class that I need to transfer completely to UCR. I have a transfer degree in communication studies, but it will transfer to CSUSB, but not to UCR, where both my daughters are going. So I got to follow them.
Yeah, my name is Myra Martinez. I graduated from Cal State San Bernardino with a bachelor's degree in biology. And then right now I'm actually a grad student at the University of Redlands. I'm pursuing a master's in teaching and learning with a multiple subject credential.
Hi, thank you guys for having me today. I'm really excited. My name is Natalia Gonzalez. I attended Coachella Valley High School, and then I had the opportunity in 2016 to attend UCLA, and I graduated class of 2020. And I majored in political science with a minor in Chicano and Chicana studies.
My name is Perla Badena. I attend California State University San Bernardino. My major is liberal studies, and I'm in the integrated track.
As you can see, we have a diverse group of people that we have interviewed. And the first question we wanted to ask them was, what does education mean for them and their families?
It's kind of just the journey itself is what's most impactful about education, just because there's literally an endless amount of opportunities that education allows, and a lot of people focus on the end journey, and well, that's important. It's all the steps along the way that really make a difference. So that's, I guess, kind of what education really means to me.
Education right now to me is kind of like everything. Without education for my career plan, I don't really have a future. Right now, I'm a young mother, so for the future, I have to plan everything, what's going to happen with her, how I'm going to support my family, and support myself and future wants and needs.
It means a lot to me because I'd be the first one to actually graduate from college. My other family members are not in college. My sister dropped out. My dad and my mom never went to college, never even graduated from high school.
Education means so much to me and my family for various reasons. We're actually an immigrant family. I am a DACA recipient, so it was kind of the whole reason why we ended up staying here was for education. So it's just a lot of opportunity, and we really wanted to take advantage of that. So, and with all the goals that I had in mind, I did want to go to med school and whatnot. So it just became really important from the day we came to the United States.
It means that I can help my son learn a lot more about the world and have it a lot more accessible to him. I can also have a brighter future for myself, so I can move on and do things that I want to do, like my goals for other careers as well.
An education for me and my family, it's meant the entire world. My dad, we're from Mexico, and we came here illegally, like a lot of families. But he came from a very well-educated family over there. And of course, coming here, having a better opportunity, they sacrificed so much for us. It was expected of us to have an education, and to be fair, I am the least expected to get, like, to get an education, the degree and everything, but it was still expected of me, and it means the world to us because despite all the hardships we went through financially and with communication and everything like that, we made it through. Like, we just need our younger brother to graduate, and there'll be all four of us with the college education. So yeah, it means the world to us.
So education means like a lot to me and my family. My mom is actually a teacher, so education has always been very valued in my family, and it's actually like motivated me to pursue teaching as well.
Growing up, my parents, from when I was little, right, going to kindergarten, like my parents always instilled in me the importance of education. It was definitely always a topic of conversation in my family, also with my uncles and my aunts. My parents financially put me through, college. And so for me, that degree was also for my parents and for my family and for the sacrifices that they made, right, for me to sit there in those settings and those classroom settings and to be able to participate in discussions. And not only that, but be on campus and live like that full-on college experience that I'm truly thankful for, and I hope to one day give to my children and so forth. So yeah, I mean, education to me is one of the most valuable things that I could ever have. And I also think being a woman and also a Latina woman, right, I also think that no one could ever discredit you in the sense, like, if you have just as much education as somebody else, if not more, right, I feel like it gives you, or it sets you up to be in the right pathway of success.
It means a lot because my mom didn't go to college. We're first generation students. My sister and one of my brothers, that's a twin, he's also going to college. So it shows my little brothers that anything's possible, and that no matter what the circumstances is, because we all have different personalities, we all have different struggles, they see that there's a way out. And I know it's going to be a lot harder for them because once a time comes for them to go to college, they're probably going to have to be paying for college, and they're going to probably struggle a little more than we did. So I know that their struggle is going to be different, but they're going to be able to look back and see the times that we all went through and the sacrifices that we all have to make. So it's a learning lesson for all of us, and we're kind of paving the way and creating like traditions for our family, like going to college is good for us and stuff like that.
It seems like there are a lot of important reasons for getting an education. I know for me, having an education has always been very important. As a first generation student myself, it means having more opportunities and a brighter future. Next, we wanted to understand their hopes for the future and how an education fits into those plans.
I just started working at my alma mater at Cal State San Bernardino, helping out Pause Radio. And with being in media studies, I'm hoping to anywhere in media, honestly, anywhere that I land a real secure job in, whether it's social media. I do audio stuff, so I don't mind doing that. And then hopefully with working in Pause Radio, I can learn some new things with my mentor, my former professor Lacey, because she's amazing. So anything in media, that could that'll be amazing for me.
For my future, I'm hoping to be doing research. I've come across like forensic psychology and clinical psychology that really interest me. So right now I'm working on trying to get a master's in doing that and hopefully move to get a PhD in that as well.
So for me, I mean, my ultimate goal has always been to work in the public sector space. I've worked a lot on like grassroots organizations, you know, throughout college, which eventually translated here locally in the desert. And I'm very thankful for the connections that I've made with a lot of people in those organizations. And the goal for me is to either get like a master's degree or a law degree and hopefully run for office one day here in my community.
Education does fit into my plans. My hope is, so I become a teacher soon, and I motivate my students to pursue further education. So yes, it fits a lot into my career. I'll be working in education and motivating students to pursue higher ed.
I want to be, for my future, I want to be a studio art teacher. And like I said, education is like everything for that. I think that with that, you have to have some sort of education, to get the job. As an artist myself, I think just going through college and learning and becoming a better artist and becoming a better person is like huge when it comes to that career path.
Actually, I really do want to be a teacher here in the Coachella Valley. I want to bring back what I know, bring it home, and I want to at least be a teacher for 5 years in the CD Unified School District, because I feel like, it's a very low income place, and I want to be able to empower these kids. I want to be the teacher that I always wanted. I want to make sure that they get the education they deserve. And I also want to advocate for them, because I feel like a lot of people in this area, they don't have a lot of people speaking out for them. They don't have a lot of teachers being able to do that. So I want to be able to do that before I start a family of my own, so that I have something to focus on and something to give back, because I feel like I do owe it to the area that I came from.
Having a professional degree such as respiratory therapy, I can get into I don't want it to seem like it's about the money. I'm very much about patient care, but certainly working in McDonald's does not sit me in a good position to be a better provider or a homeowner or a more stable person, as does a medical provider such as a respiratory therapist.
So my future, I guess, short term is definitely getting my master's, and long-term future, education is definitely playing a role, because I never thought that I would be getting my master's, in the education field. I want to continue to help with student success, maybe eventually become a professor, just because, I see students day to day and I can make an impact and help them on their educational journey as well, just like I had to almost help myself in some cases through mine.
So the hopes for my future are to become a doctor. I did want to do a PhD and an MD, so it would both kind of tie into research of a cardiology field, or at least that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. So education fits into it, because we can all agree that getting into med school is going to require a lot of education from the start. So I already know that I'm going to be in school for a really long time. So it's really important to be, I can't imagine anyone who's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a doctor, and then not wanting to go to school. So yeah, education is really important when it comes to that.
Thinking about my education, I am currently getting my bachelor's degree and have faced a lot of obstacles and setbacks along the way. Next, we wanted to get a better understanding of what some of the challenges students have faced or are currently facing relating to their education.
One challenge that I know is coming up, but I'm trying so hard not to stress over it because I know like everything will fall into place. But my financial aid is going to be running out soon. So I'm trying my best to find scholarships. I'm trying my best to actually get like work study, and I'm applying for jobs on campus because there's no way for me to get a regular job anymore. I don't think I could go back to that while being in school because it did take a toll on me. So my fear is just not being able to pay for my last semester, which will be next fall. And I am trying not to stress over it. I did for a while, but I know it's coming to an end because I've been in school for quite some time. I spent a lot of the majority of my academic career at a community college. So I know the consequences of that, and I hope that everybody else knows. But it's the only thing I'm fearing right now because I feel like everything else is just so much better for me when it comes to school right now. So
procrastination. When it comes to art, you know, you have to get the finished product. And I think that I have a big problem, especially with COVID and everything. Like, it just made me a huge procrastinator. And I like, you know, when you start something and you're like, oh, I can envision it, but it just never quite is done. So I think that's like a major fault for me. Also, I think that the procrastination for like school, like college classes, finding the right education and taking the right steps to figure out what I need to do when I plan to transfer to, you know, a 4-year college.
Well, since I jumped from home to home, I was in foster care. We really didn't have support like this school has impacted on me, which was it's a good experience, but it's not a good experience because we're online. But we're trying to get back on campus. I feel that we should be back on campus. Being a first-time student, it's been really hard because I didn't have that much education. I was jumped from home to home to schools also. So when you're in foster care, they actually don't really help you. They just put you in that grade and then move you on when you're not passing. So that didn't help my education at all. So it has impacted me really, really bad. So my reading's not a college level at all. My math is not a college level.
One of the challenges that I did face, especially over this last year, is that I had exhausted all of my financial aid. And so everything that I did throughout the last year was out of my own pocket. And that came about because I had actually been accepted into the RT program a year earlier, but I had to pull out because my kid's dad had received a fatal heart diagnosis. And I kept going and picking up other classes because we needed that financial aid to keep coming in, even though I knew I would end up a year out of my own pocket, which I did. But you do what you got to do for family. The message was, though, just keep pushing through no matter how hard it gets.
Some challenges that I faced was time management. I had to learn the hard way, but it only made me like improve in it. So I overcame it by, you know, like just sitting down and just mapping out all my deadlines and my priorities.
I would say, oh man, I wouldn't want to say that there's a specific challenge that I have in mind, but I guess with everything with COVID, you know, I would say that it's just not the same, but it also gave me a lot of room for growth. So I can't really complain. I did the best with all the opportunities that were given to me and, you know, the cards that I was dealt. So, you know, thankfully that it all went well. So currently I'm not facing any challenge so far, thankfully, but as of right now, I'm still adjusting to the whole online learning experience. So.
Yeah, so when it comes to challenges with me, in my educational journey, so my senior year of high school, I played football. I was potentially, going to get a scholarship for football. I was going to go play. And that was kind of like the end goal for me, right? I was like, that's what I'm focusing on. And unfortunately, I was born with congenital glaucoma. Well, I was born with congenital glaucoma. I wasn't, born with the side effects of it. I was born with the condition, but it got bad my senior year of high school. So I had to get all these surgeries. I no longer can play contact sports. I was going to go, out of state. That ended up not working out because I was taking a math course, a college math course in my senior year. And I basically had a professor telling me to drop the class, like you're not going to be able to do college. And I was kind of like, going through this whole new phase of my life of like having to figure it out because now I've become visually impaired to where I can't drive anymore. Can't play contact sports. I can barely see the board. And I had to, learn to accommodate for myself. And I had to go and be comfortable to speak with the professors and kind of go out of my way to help myself, right? Because I have to invest in myself to get where I want to go. So it was definitely a difficult time, right? But I think that it definitely sculpted me to the person I am today. I don't think if I, had to get all those surgeries and had that vision loss, I don't think I would be where I am today. Just because it really has influenced where my educational path has gone. And, being part of student success is something that, it derives from that.
So far, getting my associates was honestly like the hardest part. Kind of going through the classes and seeing what interests me the most. And then also with kind of getting the scheduling done, since I didn't go to like a 4-year college, I'm doing community college and then I'm transferring. So that kind of set me back time-wise a little bit.
I would definitely say for me, if I would tell somebody, right, like before entering college, how everyone's starting school right now. And I think back on my experience and like some of those barriers that I encountered myself. I think it's just to tell somebody if I was, 4 years back, like just believing yourself, right? Like you're there for a reason. I truly believe that everything in your life happens for a reason. And just remembering what value you bring to the table and not letting what other people look like around you, what other people are doing. I think it's also like comparing yourself. Like I compared myself the entire 4 years, like, whoa, like this person has this internship, this person read this many books, like what they're, like sometimes it was kind of a little bit intimidating. It also came from like what schools they came from, right? A lot of them came from very privileged private schools. And it's definitely an experience, but I also think it's a valuable experience because I also learned to believe in myself, right? And to grow as a person. So I would say that was, one of the barriers that I definitely face.
Well, currently right now, none, but before, during, the whole thing, I was struggling through a lot of mental stuff, thinking like, how long am I just gonna be here, just to make my parents happy and keep them quiet, and then eventually drop the bomb on them and tell them like, nope, I couldn't do it. So that was a lot of mental stuff going on, thinking like I wasn't good enough to do anything, and why am I still going? What's keeping me here? Like it was just, that was the biggest thing, just mental stuff with myself, not the courses themselves. I felt like the courses themselves were like, I was with the major I went through and the concentration and everything. I love the classes. None of that was difficult. It was just the mental aspect.
Speaking of challenges, as we all know, all anyone could talk about in 2020 was COVID-19. Let's take a look at what our interviewees had to say about how COVID affected them.
COVID has definitely been like a big hit, I think not only for me, but for everybody, obviously. The online classes are a huge shift into what I came from, like high school and person to person. And I didn't go from high school to right to college, so I had that gap. And in between that gap, there was no COVID. So it was kind of like a harsh thing to deal with. So I think I kind of got like struck, like boom, like, oh my gosh, what is all this? So I think, COVID really made that hard. And especially with like resources, like going to the library, getting books, like any technology that I need, it kind of made it a little bit harder. And not only that, it's, of course, people struggled with COVID and getting financial abilities, what they need. So
it really impacted me because online classes is not really fitted for me at all. And when you have to take classes online, it's more difficult in understanding what the instructor wants. They're not clear at all what the instructors wants. So when the instructor's saying this is what needs to be on, this needs to be happening, you don't really know what he wants because he doesn't go into details. He just goes in briefly details. I need more details. So when I ask him, hey, I need more details, they kind of throw an attitude and said, hey, you should know what I'm talking about. And I don't think that's right. Because some instructors is like, you should know what I'm talking about. Especially when you're in an access program, they should be more, how you say it, more helpful and understanding what you're coming from.
I feel like now, right, a lot of universities are moving towards this online platform, right? Like they see the value in that. And it's also like this unknown world, right? Like I know for a lot of master's degrees, they started to waive the GRE for this fall for 2021, but there's a lot of them that are unsure if they're going to continue to do that for 2022. So it leaves me in this predicament of like, do I need to take the GRE? Do I not? I feel like that's a big thing right now for a lot of people who are interested in master's degrees. I would say as far as what COVID has done, I think it's just the uncertainty that it's created, not only like in, education, but also like in career life, right? Like I was a recent grad, I graduated in the middle of the pandemic, and it was not the best time to graduate, to say the least. I know everyone that I knew kind of struggled to find a job, and there was people who just settled, right? Like because they needed the source of income. But it's funny because I feel like as things come back to normal, right, the hopes is that everyone's able to find something that they love and that they're able to work in a career path that they feel very, passionate about.
I am not an online learner, not at all. And we were just embarking on a very difficult concept in the RT program, right when our campus said, stay home. And not only did we have to learn how to learn online, but we had to figure out how to master these type of topics online. So it was kind of a double learning curve for me. And also hospitals were so lacking PPE, personal protective equipment, that they did not want students during the worst months. And so we were challenged in the respect that we couldn't go into the clinical setting. We caught up, we all pulled through, but it was kind of some challenging times right then.
So as everyone knows, fall of 2020 was everybody's first complete semester of being virtual. So it was also the kids going back in a virtual setting and having different expectations rather than just being put in the middle of the school year. So my mom needed help, and so did my cousins. So all of them asked me to help their kids while I was in school. So I would drive every day to my mom's house, and it's a pretty good drive. It took a toll. It took time out of my day to go out there. So coming back was also taking time out of my day. And then being there, I was also helping the kids. We were all on Zoom at the same time. So my brother lives with my mom, one of my twin brothers, he lives with her, and he was also in school. So there was my two little brothers, my twin brother, me, and then I believe it was three other kids. So it was like 7 of us on Zoom at the same time. So that was a mess. It was chaos. We all had to get earphones. Even then, like it was just all over the place. I had to help them. My grades actually suffered a little bit from that. Not too bad, but I wanted to bring my GPA up, especially it being my first semester at CSUSB. I realized that I couldn't do it anymore. So unfortunately, I had to stop doing that for them. I would just check up on them every so often until we were all able to manage. But that was just one of the things that it impacted my education. And I wouldn't say the resources. I didn't really feel like I lacked resources. I was very fortunate enough to have all the resources that I could available to me. I actually had more time to do like virtual event and just get involved with the school. So I feel like that was not something I could really complain about. But other than that, it was just my grades in the beginning.
I started my credential program in fall 2020. So I haven't even like gone to the University of Redlands physically. It's all been online. Normally we would have like early observation hours where we would go 20 hours a semester to a school and observe a teacher in the classroom. And I wasn't able to do that. Instead, they offered us to watch YouTube videos of pre-recorded, like pre-COVID times. And so now I'm kind of like going towards the end of it. And the next thing for me is student teaching, which it makes me really nervous because I haven't like actually like gone into a classroom.
I know a lot of students ended up dropping out because they couldn't do the online thing. I had, people saying that their grades were suffering. But for me personally, I kind of turned it into an opportunity. Having the online platform, I felt like there was less time for me to manage. Because I wasn't having to go to campus. I didn't have those breaks in between, just hanging out at the student union. So I actually was able to take more classes, and I kind of just put my head down, focused, got better grades. Motivation wise, obviously, it was difficult. I'm a very social person, and not having, somebody to my left and to my right to talk to and just like, hey, like, what's your name, was difficult for me. So that, motivation wise, that it definitely affected. But educationally and academics wise, it was definitely a benefit. I was able to just, get ahead of the game. I took more classes than I ever did.
Well, COVID, there's some negative things that have happened, but honestly, it's been a lot of things have become a lot more accessible. Since everyone's at home all day and they're on Zoom, I've kind of been able to get a lot more things rolling, like looking up different schools, getting people to call me back on certain things, and as well as getting help. I've kind of been able to get a lot more help during COVID. Even though it seems like it would be busier, I've gotten a lot more help than I would in person. Some things that have been a little bit hard, I would say, would be like keeping up with like being happy or anything like that, since you're not really talking to people. It's all over a screen. So it's kind of a little bit weird.
This might sound like not a shocker, but something very weird to say. But for me personally, COVID in a way helped me because of the courses I had to take. I live in the Palm Desert area, so the remaining courses I needed to graduate, they were all in San Bernardino. So it would have been, for me, it would have been tough going there probably almost every day. And I honestly don't know anybody up there to like potentially room with or anything like that, help pay rent for something. So for me, COVID actually helped me out in that aspect because I just stayed home and everything was online. I got all my stuff done and everything. And just except for the resources part, I'm not gonna put blame on anyone, but the people at the school, for some reason, they like literally shut down. Like they were not helping very much at all. Many of them, honestly, the way I see it, a lot of them gave up for the year because halfway through it, I needed help with class and things like that. And I would try contacting them or anything, and I would get automated emails saying, nope, they're not here. They're on summer break already. So I was like, wow, like that was tough. And then graduating, it sucked because a lot of schools here in California, they had their graduation and ours didn't. So that really sucked. I just cried here at home in my living room. But so yeah, that was the toughest part about COVID. But yeah.
So I would say in the beginning, it was more like a lack of motivation. I felt like with things being online, I was like, this is so easy. Like, I don't necessarily everything was open notes all of a sudden. Cause the teachers or professors just automatically know, like, they're like, okay, we're not done. Like, we know you guys are going to cheat, So everything was already like open notes and whatnot. So at that point, it was like, it got too easy for a second. And then all of a sudden they started, I guess, more methods to, I guess, kind of block that whole cheating aspect and, you know, making it more like, okay, this is now a closed book. We're going to proctor you, monitor you. And so it was just kind of like a back and forth where you had some professors that were experienced and then some that weren't. So it was, I don't know, it was just a tricky situation and whatnot. But essentially, I feel like as time progressed, I want to say maybe a few months into the whole online learning experience, it just felt like I had a lot more time, you know? So I did take advantage of all the resources that were out there. I felt like personally, and I know that this isn't the same for everyone, but personally, I felt like I was able to, since I had more time, I was able to do more research. I was able to take advantage of all the resources that were online. I reached out to so many people for help and advice and whatnot. So it ended up not being like just a bad situation to, I guess, to end up with, you know? So I want to say that I didn't necessarily have, I guess, lack any resources because I thankfully I had really good professors, really amazing people that helped me throughout the process. So
for most people, it's clear that the pandemic and the shutdown shook up their entire livelihood. But it's interesting to learn that the pandemic actually benefited students in some ways. COVID has added so much uncertainty to the world. It put us in a remote setting, changed the way we go about life. And in this moment in time, we want to ask students what their hopes and fears are for this upcoming year.
I would like to be on person and interact with a lot of students and try to get us active with a lot of groups and stuff. I will also like to see the teachers and get to know them, even in person, and explain to them, hey, this is what I'm having difficulties with. Can we sit on one-on-one with each other instead of sitting on Zoom or office hours? Because sometimes teachers don't have office hours. You have to just say, okay, I have to get a tutor. Some tutors are not working on some subjects. So it's really difficult. I hope we get back on campus and stay on campus. I just don't like online that much.
My hopes for myself is to become a better artist and really push myself to be a better person. I think with college, it's important to build who you are. Like while you're in classes, don't just focus on the learning aspect, but also focus on the building, like figuring out who other people are, how other people process, how you process them, and really building your mental and physical mind to be able to handle those social interactions.
So with this upcoming year, it's going to be interesting, you know, finally going back to, you know, a new campus and not being online. I'm excited. I'm excited just because I'm going to be able to have those people, like, again, like I said, that are like-minded. They're going to be, you know, working towards the same thing or kind of towards the same realm of things. So it's going to be neat to kind of, you know, pick their brain and have those conversations of the higher ed realm and what their goals are, you know, the people they know, making more connections. So it's definitely going to be, it's going to be nice to having that engagement of being back in the classroom. But I feel like it is a lot easier being online in some cases, just because me being visually impaired, sometimes having my computer makes it easier to navigate. So it's going to be kind of a weird transition of having to go, you know, back a step to being on campus and, you know, accommodating again, talking to the professor, clarity, but at the same time, that's something that I'm looking forward to, is having those conversations.
I'm hoping that, you know, I can get student teaching done. My fears is, you know, just shutting down again, but I guess like a hope that comes into also with this fear is that, like, it's amazing how we as a society kind of just like we're flexible enough and we just went all on a virtual platform. So I know that, you know, if it was to happen again, like we would be flexible with it again. I think I've adjusted well to online setting. My worry though is that I don't feel prepared enough to go into this career. You know, with everything opening back up, I don't know if I'm ready enough to be like an in-person teacher yet. Yeah, but you know, and then that worries me. And then also like shutting down worries me. So it's like kind of both.
For this upcoming year, one of my hopes is that I'll be able to find a school for my master's program. I'm kind of teetering in between clinical psychology and the forensic psychology. So my fears would be that I may have to take a few courses to get a higher GPA. But my hope is that I can find a school that will accommodate me. I'd like to do school counseling, but I also really do have a passion for like criminal justice and things like that. So while I'm working towards my doctorate, I would hope that they'd have programs and other things like that, such as internships I could do.
I think my hope is to get back to campus without a big spike in COVID numbers. I sense that there's a lot of hesitation. People aren't sure. There are differences between different campuses as far as what their restrictions are. So my concern is, what is the balance going to be? Are there going to be any more shutdowns? So I feel a little ominous, hopeful, but ominous.
My hope is that everything goes according to plan. I hope that I continue to keep my grades as well as they are. And I hope that I do not put too much on my plate. I feel like I need to keep it light, especially since now I have a commute. I'm no longer just doing my hair and makeup and then going to the camera. Like I actually have to go somewhere. So that's one of my hopes, that I just keep it light. And then my fear is that the same way it happened before, how the rug was pulled from under me, I feel like that's going to happen again to all of us if we just don't, follow protocols and follow rules. My fear is that we will go back virtual. I'm liking the in-person. It's hard to adjust, but I do wish that nothing bad goes wrong. But my biggest fear is that something might.
Hopes and fears. Hopes is, I want to say, to find a way to get to my goals without focusing too much on the little aspects, or going into focusing too much on small obstacles that kind of get in my way when it comes to that. So that's one thing that I kind of always struggled with my senior year. I was like, okay, I want to go to med school, do my PhD program, whatever, at the same time. But you really think about it, and it's a scary thought, because let's say that I get into med school and my first or second year I don't do so well, I fail a class or whatnot, and then I'm out of med school and now I'm like $100,000 in debt. You know what I'm saying? So that's like one of my biggest fears. And I was always just like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to be sure, which is the main reason why I'm doing an emergency medical provider certificate right now. I'm still kind of exploring, like making sure that it is something that I want. And it is like a scary goal to kind of, I guess, process. And I do look forward to it and whatnot, but I just do hope that I make my mind up and I'm like super sure of what I want by the end of the school year. So
I'm just afraid that like applying for a career and a job, people aren't gonna be hiring anybody. They just want to save money and things like that. Because I'm a very confident person with what I know and everything I have, all my tools and everything, that I can get a job just based off of everything that I have on my resume. But it's just my fears is COVID and how stuff is going. People not want to get vaccinated, things going back up, that a lot of companies and a lot of places aren't going to want to hire people just to save money. So that's my only fears right now.
We know that this past year has been challenging, to say the least, leaving many students struggling to find motivation to complete school and wanting to give up. So the last thing we wanted to ask students to share is some words of wisdom to their peers, friends, or anyone out there having a hard time with school and thinking about quitting.
If you're at the bottom of the ladder, just keep, one rung at a time. I quit school, college, right out of high school. I went almost 2 years on a full ride, and then I lost sight of my dream. I had nothing else that I wanted to do. So I quit. And the thing that I did not want my kids to remember about me is that I was a college dropout. And so when they were a little more grown and I could go back to school, I attacked it. And I wanted them to see, you know, that drive for education. My son is into IT. My two girls are headed to medical school. So obviously it landed with them.
I know that like it may seem like pretty difficult right now, and it may seem like, you know, oh my gosh, maybe I should change my major, maybe I should drop out, but you know, just keep on going and just take things like day by day. That's what this whole past year has like taught me. Don't really like worry too much about like the far future, just take things day by day and see where you go from there.
I'd say that even though it's hard right now, you're kind of going to have to keep moving through hurdles throughout life, and it's not all going to be easy ever. So if you give up now, you're kind of giving up at the easiest part, and you just have to work through it. It's kind of, there's no like secret to it. You kind of just have to keep going.
Well, first off, don't be a quitter. I'm kidding. But, you know, honestly, at first, it's important to let them know that you coming out and like asking for help and asking for advice, number one, is the most important thing, because you recognize that there's, you know, an issue, and it takes a lot of strength to, you know, ask for help. If you need help, there's always help. There's resources out there that are, you know, literally meant for you to go to. And I know sometimes they're a little hard, but hard to find, but finding the right people to guide you and, you know, having the right people on your sideline definitely is going to help.
And I always tell my friends when they're feeling like really down and they just don't want to do it anymore, I tell them, look, you're feeling this way. It might be temporary. So you might not want to make a permanent decision like dropping school, because all this hard work that you put in is just going to be prolonged, and you're going to have to continue to come back and do more. But I also tell them, if it's something that you feel you don't think that you can do and you think it'll hurt your academic career, then maybe you should take a step back, take a little break. Because I've taken a break before. I took a semester off once, and it was the best thing that could ever happen to me. And I always tell them about that. So if they feel like that's something that they really, truly need to do, and it's just not something in the moment, then they need to do that. And that it's something that they can come back later, because everybody's timeline is different. I have friends that graduated 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I'm still in school. It doesn't bother me. This is my timeline. This is my story. This is something that I'm going to tell my family. It has nothing to do with the world and everybody else. This is just you. And you want to make sure that you're doing it right. When it comes to your grades, you don't want to have something bad on your record. You want to continue to look good, and you can explain those absences. You can explain that semester off. So that's what I usually tell people. And the talk is a little longer, but that's just to sum it up.
To me, the way that I went into college, I was kind of terrified to do it, because in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get all these Fs. I'm like, it's too much to deal with. And then I thought in my mind, I was like, I'm going to take all these cool classes where I get the opportunity to draw different things, to paint different things, to learn how to become a better person. And I think that's how you should really look at it. Look at it as an opportunity and experience, rather than like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail.
Stick with it. I've been there. It's difficult, yes, but you could get through it. I'm trying to get through it, and you could see the challenges that I'm going through with not that much education. So yeah, it's difficult, but you could get through it. Just keep trying and trying and trying. Don't ever give up.
I would say things will get better. It's a scary situation. A lot of people are not doing well. You're not alone. Just know that there are so many resources and so many people that you can reach out to for help. School is never easy, regardless of it being in person or online. Don't give up, because this is your future. These are your goals. This is what essentially that you'll need in your life, because that's, you decided to go to college to begin with, and it was for a reason. So just remind yourself of that reason.
Like I say, just keep going, just keep trying. Don't let yourself, because when I say this with, I come in, like I started my first year with the 1.3. I was gonna get kicked out. I was one of the kids that was like, I should not be here. So from what I'm saying is just keep going, just keep trying. Don't be scared to not ask questions. That was my biggest thing. There was a thing one of my first year that they were, you had a mentor, and they would email, I think, all the first year students. I never replied to that person. They would contact me every week, and I would just blow them off. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna be here if you want to talk about stuff," and I just blew them off. I'm like, "No, I'm just want to get here, get out of here, and that's it." So all I can say is just keep going. You can do it. Like it just is how badly you want it. From someone that came from very bad situation to recently graduating somehow with a 3.7 in my concentration in my major, just keep on going. That's all I can say.
Wow, such powerful words from our students in the region.
For sure. I can definitely relate in so many ways with the comments we just heard, especially on how COVID has affected my motivation and wanting to complete my degree and the importance of education to me and my family.
I completely agree. There were so many times last year that I thought about giving up, but I'm so glad that I stuck through it. It was also really nice to see the different perspectives of these students and confirm that I wasn't the only one struggling during this time.
Exactly. It is never easy completing higher education. I'm happy that we were able to sit down with these students and give them a platform to share their experiences.
On behalf of Alicia and I and all the students featured in this video, we want to thank you for being a part of the Student Voice session. And also a special thanks to Summer from CalSoap for her support.
It means the world to us that there are so many community leaders who showed up today to listen to what students in the Inland Empire have to say. We truly hope you can take back some of the things you learned to help the students you work with during this upcoming year.
Thank you once again for joining us, and please enjoy the rest of your time at Tour de Shared Vision 2021.